You are the villain. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you set out to hurt anyone, but because the position you occupy in this story, the role you play every single day, is, structurally, the one that benefits when everyone else loses. You just didn't know you had a position. 743. That's what's in your checking account right now. Or it was. Last time you checked. Not what you owe. What's left. You found out not because you were paying attention, but because something was declined. A gas station, a pharmacy, a coffee on a Tuesday morning that shouldn't have mattered. And your phone buzzed, and the number was there in the dark, and it did not lie. That is where this story begins. Not with a villain in a glass tower, not with a hedge fund manager in a tailored suit and a cold smile. With you. With that number. With the quiet, patient system that put you there and will keep you there for as long as you let it. Here is what nobody tells you about money. The system doesn't have enemies. It has positions. And most people watching this right now, are in the short position. They are the asset being borrowed against, the collateral for someone else's trade, the liquidity someone else is drawing on while they sleep. That is not a metaphor. That is the architecture. Before my first 100,000, I was that position. I was the one being shorted. I had a job, a paycheck, a responsible attitude toward my bills, and the system was working perfectly. Just not for me. I didn't have the vocabulary for what was happening yet. I just felt the drag. The permanent, frictionless, invisible drag of being on the wrong side of a trade I never agreed to enter. This is not a motivational video. It is not about thinking positive or finding your purpose or grinding your way to the top. It is about understanding exactly which side of the trade you're on and what it actually costs you to stay there. If you want to understand everything behind this, and I will show you with real mechanics, not with slogans, subscribe now. This kind of conversation, honest and without a product to sell midway, is what happens here every week. Let's build the picture. There is a Wall Street term, the short. When you short something, you are betting it goes down. You borrow shares of a company, sell them at the current price, wait for the price to drop, buy them back cheaper, and pocket the difference. You profit from decline. You need the thing to fail for the trade to work. Most people find this morally unsettling. How do you profit from something going down? But here's the thing. The short is not the anomaly. The short is the honest version of something that has been happening to you for years, without a name. Every time a company structures wages to stay just below the threshold where employees start asking uncomfortable questions, that is a short on your labor. Every time a bank designs a savings product that returns 1.2% while inflation runs at 4%, that is a short on your money. Every time a credit card calculates minimum payments to maximize the years you spend in debt, that is a short on your future income. Every time a landlord raises rent 3% while your salary raise was 2%, that is a short on your progress. You are being shorted, constantly, systematically, not maliciously, structurally. The system does not hate you. It simply does not need you to win for it to profit. You are not the customer in this transaction. You are the underlying asset, the shift. The moment you understand, this is not the moment you become angry. Anger is useless here. The moment you understand this is the moment you become useful to yourself. Because once you can see the position, you can start asking the only question that actually changes anything. Which side of this trade do you want to be on? Here is what being on the short side of money actually feels like from the inside. You have a salary, maybe a good one. Maybe you've negotiated for it, earned it, feel genuinely proud of it. And every 2 weeks on a Friday, the direct deposit lands, and there is a number in your account, and it feels, for exactly a moment, like arrival. Like you made it somewhere. Like the work added up. Then the rent clears. The car payment, the student loan minimum, $340 a month, 10 years left on a degree you finished 7 years ago. The credit card minimum, because last month had an unexpected car repair. The subscriptions you forgot about. the health insurance premium that went up in January, and you adjusted your budget and moved on. And by Wednesday of the following week, you are managing. You are not drowning. But you are managing, which is a very specific kind of not winning that looks a lot like winning from the outside. That is the position. You are generating cash flow for everyone else's balance sheet while your own remains thin. And the part that makes this structural rather than personal. You are doing everything right. You are paying your bills on time. You are showing up to work. You are being responsible by every standard the system gave you for measuring responsibility. And the system is designed so that doing all of that still leaves you in this exact position. Watch what happens when you try to escape. You get a raise. Immediately, your effective tax rate shifts. A percentage of that raise disappears before it reaches you. You put money in a savings account. The savings account returns 1.8%. Inflation is running at 3.5%. You are saving and losing ground simultaneously. You start a side project to build something extra. It generates income. Now you owe estimated quarterly taxes on income that sometimes hasn't arrived yet because the IRS assumes you'll have it when the deadline hits. Each move that looks like progress has a counter move already built in. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just arithmetic with bad margins. Here is the thing, though. The problem is not the individual moves. Each decision had a reason. Together, they built something that doesn't collapse all at once. It just holds. It holds you in place. And holding in place over years in a system where everyone else's assets are compounding is its own kind of loss. The rule of this level, awareness alone, changes nothing. You can understand the architecture completely and still live inside it. The question is what you do with the understanding. Now here is where the POV flips. The Wall Street villain, the one shorting dreams as the framing goes, is not a cartoon, not a caricature. He is sitting at a desk in a building you've walked past, running a model on a spreadsheet you've never seen. And the model does not say anything about you personally. The model says, if wages stay flat relative to asset prices, if consumer debt stays elevated, if the workforce keeps rotating through the same positions at the same pay grades with the same thin margins between income and expense, the position holds. The position holds because you need the income. And needing the income means you cannot afford to walk away. And not being able to walk away means your price is set. Not by what you are worth, by what you cannot afford to lose. This is not conspiracy. This is pricing theory applied to labor. The villain is not a person. It is a structural incentive. And structural incentives don't respond to moral outrage. They respond to changed behavior. The only way to stop being the asset being shorted, the only structural change that actually matters, is to stop being purely dependent on income. To start converting some of that income, however small the amount, into something that holds value when you are not there generating it. An asset, not a word, a mechanism. $5,800. That is what a $40,000 index fund portfolio returned in a single calendar year at 7% average return. $5,800 without you making one active decision. While you were at work, while you were asleep, while you were sitting in traffic or making dinner or doing something else entirely. Read that sentence again. That is the first moment you understand, not as a concept, but as a physical sensation, what an asset actually is. Not a word, a mechanism, something that generates result independent of your presence. A Roth IRA maxed annually that compounds over 30 years. A 401k with employer match that you take in full because the match is the only guaranteed return in any market. A high-yield savings account holding 3 months of expenses so that a single unexpected bill does not send you back to 743. There is no one in your life who would understand what that screenshot means. The zero on the credit card. The first $1,000 sitting untouched. The month you look at your account and it went up. Not because you deposited money, but because the mechanism worked. Nobody taught you to celebrate that. But that is the moment the trade starts to flip. There are two groups leaving this video. The first will continue believing that effort is the answer. That another raise, another promotion, another side hustle will eventually tip the balance. And some of them will be right. For a while. Right until a layoff, a medical event, a recession that reprices their labor downward in 6 weeks and doesn't reprice it back for 3 years. Until the moment the income stops and there is nothing underneath it but the position they were always in. The second group will start asking a different question. Not, how do I earn more? Though that matters, but how do I convert what I earn into something that does not require me to earn it again tomorrow? How do I build, one small mechanism at a time, a buffer between my labor and my survival? The distance between those two questions is the distance between the short position and the long one. The machine doesn't negotiate the terms. It opens every morning and takes whoever shows up, consistently, patiently, without flinching. The capital compounds, the decisions compound. The distance between the two groups compounds. The balance is 743. It always starts near there. But here is what that number doesn't tell you. Every person who ended up on the other side of this trade started from a number that looked exactly like that one. Not from nothing. From the specific, quiet, humbling recognition that the game was being played on them. And that the first move was simply deciding to play it instead of be played. The villain in this story is not a person. It is a position. And positions can be changed. The real question begins on the other side of the number everyone told you to chase. If this landed, subscribe. More is coming. See you next time.